Welcome to Picture Mavericks. So listen, I just watched Shutter Island and I need to tell you about this movie because it completely messed with my head in the best way possible. Trust me, you need to hear this. Alright, so it starts in 1954 and there are these two U.S. Marshals, Teddy Daniels and Chuck All, and they are taking a ferry to this remote island where there is a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane called Ashcliff. A patient named Rachel Solando has disappeared from a locked room and nobody can figure out how she got out because the windows are not broken. The door was locked. There is literally no way out, but she is just gone. So Teddy and Chuck arrive on the island to investigate, and right away something feels weird. The doctors are being super secretive, the guards are watching them way too closely, and the patients are acting strange. One patient literally grabs Teddy's hand during an interview and whispers, "Run." Like, what does that even mean, right? Then another patient slips him a note, and it says who is 67. But the hospital records show they only have 66 patients. So either someone is being hidden or the hospital is straight up lying about the number of people there. And then before they can really dig into the investigation, a massive storm hits the island, and all communication gets cut off. No boats, no phone lines, nothing. So now Teddy is not just investigating a missing person, he is literally trapped on this creepy island with no way to contact anyone. Now here's where it gets really personal. Teddy tells Chuck that he has another reason for being there, because years ago his wife died in an apartment fire, and the guy who set the fire was an arsonist named Andrew Letties. And Teddy believes this Andrew Letties guy is hiding somewhere on this island as a patient. So he has got two missions now: find the missing woman and find the guy who killed his wife. So as Teddy starts investigating, he notices more and more weird stuff happening. The hospital staff will not let him see certain files. They will not let him access certain areas of the building. And every time he asks a direct question, they give him these vague non-answers. Then suddenly Rachel Solando just appears back in her room like she was never gone, and the staff is acting like nothing happened. No explanation at all. Teddy becomes convinced that something really dark is going on here. Like he thinks the hospital is running secret experiments on the patients, doing mind control stuff, erasing memories, really messed up things. And because he is asking all these questions now, they are watching him. Oh, and I should mention Teddy has his own issues too. He gets these terrible migraines, and he has these intense flashbacks to World War II because he was a soldier, and he helped liberate a concentration camp, and the things he saw there still haunt him. So he is already dealing with a lot of trauma. Anyway, Teddy finds out about this place called Ward C, which is this super restricted building where they keep the most dangerous patients, and the hospital absolutely refuses to let him go in there. And obviously the more they say no, the more he thinks they are hiding something terrible. So he escapes from the guards and climbs up to this cave on the cliffs, and he finds a woman hiding there, and she claims she is the real Rachel Solando. She tells him she used to be a doctor at the hospital, but when she found out about the experiments they were doing, they locked her up as a patient to keep her quiet. And she warns him that the hospital creates these fake realities to mess with people's minds until they cannot tell what is real anymore. And she says since Teddy has been asking questions, he is next. At this point, Teddy is completely convinced there is this huge conspiracy, and he thinks the lighthouse on the island is where they do all the worst experiments. So he breaks into the lighthouse, expecting to find all this evidence of torture and illegal surgeries and everything. But when he gets inside, he just finds Dr. Colley, who is the head psychiatrist, sitting there calmly waiting for him. And this is where everything you thought you knew about the movie just gets flipped upside down. Dr. Colley tells him there is no investigation, and Teddy is like, "What are you talking about?" And the doctor says, "Because you are not Teddy Daniels. Your real name is Andrew Letties." Wait, what? Yeah, exactly. So here is the truth. Teddy is not a U.S. Marshal. He is a patient at the hospital, and he has been there for 2 years. Chuck is not his partner. Chuck is actually Dr. Sheehan, who is his psychiatrist, and this whole investigation thing, the missing patient, everything, it was all fake. It was this elaborate therapy where the doctors created this whole scenario to try to bring Andrew back to reality because nothing else was working. Now let me tell you what actually happened, and this is really heavy. Andrew had a wife named Dolores, and she had severe mental illness, but Andrew did not realize how bad it was. One day when he was at work, she took their 3 children down to the lake behind their house, and she drowned all 3 of them. When Andrew came home and found his kids dead, he shot and killed his wife. This was so traumatic that his brain just could not process it, like it was too much. So his mind completely broke and created this whole new reality to protect him from the pain. He became Teddy Daniels, this heroic U.S. Marshal hunting criminals. And in this fake reality, his wife did not kill their kids. Instead, she died in a fire set by a bad guy named Andrew Letties, which is actually his own name. So the man he has been hunting this whole time is himself. Like his mind turned himself into the villain of his own story to avoid facing what really happened. Everything in the investigation was actually a symbol of his real trauma. Rachel Solando represents his wife Dolores. The missing children represent his actual dead children. The 67th patient is him. The conspiracy is his mind avoiding the truth. The storm represents his inner chaos. Everything connects back to what he is trying to forget. When the doctors first tell him all this, Andrew completely rejects it. He thinks they are lying, but then they show him proof, medical records, photographs, staff testimony, everything, and slowly the real memories start coming back. He remembers finding his children in the water. He remembers holding their bodies. He remembers shooting his wife. He remembers all of it. For one whole day, Andrew accepts the truth. He knows who he is and what happened, and the doctors think they finally succeeded. The therapy worked. But then the next morning, Andrew is sitting on the steps with Dr. Sheehan, and he starts talking like he is Teddy Daniels again, asking about the investigation like the whole previous day never happened. So it looks like he has completely relapsed back into the delusion. The doctors have no choice left, so they decide to do a lobotomy, which is basically a surgery that destroys parts of his brain. He will be calm, but he will not really be himself anymore. As the orderlies are coming to take him for the surgery, Andrew looks at Dr. Sheehan and says which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man. Now think about that line for a second. If Andrew really relapsed and thinks he is Teddy again, if he is confused and does not know what is real, why would he say that? That is not something a delusional person would say. That is something someone who is fully aware would say. This is the genius of the ending. Andrew is not relapsed, he is faking it. He knows exactly who he is and what he did, but he is choosing to pretend to be Teddy, so they will lobotomize him because living the rest of his life knowing he failed his children, knowing he killed his wife, the guilt is too much. By pretending to be Teddy and accepting the lobotomy, he gets to die as the good guy, as the hero, instead of living every day as the man who lost everything. It is his choice, his last bit of control over his own life. The movie ends right there. You do not see what happens next. It just leaves you with that question hanging in the air. So what does this all mean? This movie shows you how powerful the human mind is. Like when reality becomes too painful to survive, your brain will literally create a whole new person to protect you. And that is what happened to Andrew. His mind built Teddy Daniels as a way to keep functioning. It also shows that guilt can be worse than any physical prison because Andrew was not really trapped by the hospital or the island. He was trapped by his own guilt and his inability to forgive himself. And it asks this really deep question. Is it braver to face an unbearable truth and suffer forever? Or is it braver to choose peace, even if that peace comes from escaping reality? There is no right answer. That is what makes it so good. Shutter Island is not just a mystery thriller. It is a movie about trauma and how our minds protect us and the price we pay for that protection. And honestly, it will stay with you for days after you watch it. This has been Picture Mavericks. Thanks for watching.